going on? What would you like to see? Let me pull it up for you. Let's do this. All right, you can see that, yeah? All right, so since you're the only person in here, just gonna kind of jump into it a bit. With all this stuff that is placed out on this chart, the only real things we need to be looking at are this black trend line, this one right here, more or less. This is the trend line we need to be getting above. And this pullback is essentially, it's just necessary. When you look at the RSI, we were way overbought right whenever we had that major push up around like 180%, but it was too quick. And if you saw some of my previous videos, you know, I would have preferred a consolidation phase and then slowly pushing upwards instead of something so quick to the upside. We did just make it all the way across the channel to the red downward trend line, which is our clear resistance. And since it moved up so quickly, it had to do its pullback, and that's essentially what we are seeing now. It had its retracement, tried finding somewhat of a channel, could not break out of that channel, and then had the continuation downwards because the 200 EMA kind of held it underneath. The push down, like I had drawn out here in green, was the other possibility. We would have preferred consolidation above 0.008, but that did not happen. Or I guess essentially the purple triangle, we wanted to hold above the purple triangle, but it pushed down, creating more or less a bull flag, and got that immediate support like this green line is presenting. So with that, we pulled right back up, but then it's considered resistance and it's trying to break through that black downward trend line. And that's where we see this wick off happening. Ideally, we want to see this hold or close above this orange candle the previous day. And then we could expect a little bit more of consolidation working across this downward channel, and then eventually breaking out. However, with the Clarity Act being delayed for the foreseeing future, it's kind of a waiting game to see what Bitcoin's going to be doing. Bitcoin had its pullback, and that's essentially what you're seeing here with XCN and almost all the other cryptos at the moment. But we're in a consolidation phase. This is typical. People start freaking out, thinking they should have sold. I always recommend, none of this stuff's financial advice, but I always recommend, if you get that kind of major 200% pump, to think of it as if there was a millionaire who put in $1 million at this price range, and then a few days later got a 200% pump. Of course, he's going to take his 200%, sell off, and you're going to have retracement. Typically, like what we've seen with XRP is back in the day, it was trading ranging sideways, and you could scalp maybe 20 to 25% before it start failing and start trickling back downwards. But it was predictable. Okay, 25% is really the cutoff you kind of have to expect in the sideways movement. With these rapid movements up, it's not just the fact that it had that push up, but that it pushed beyond this black downward trend line, not this higher one, but pushed and broke through this downward trend line very quickly. And typically when you see some kind of major breakout from an angle or downward, like this wedge, for example, the red line, breaking out, you typically see some type of retest. The fact that people would be getting in at this point is very good observation to be like, okay, that's the perfect entry. Everybody else agrees it is. And then getting out with, say, 20 to 25% of your bag, so you can still keep your original entry in around that 0.004 if that's where you entered. And then you can stack some more with its pullback, because the pullbacks are necessary. Not always do they come like way back down. For example, in theory, this should be coming down here, testing that as support, and then working our way back up. But ideally, we don't want to see that. We want to see it work within this, the channel, the two black down. There's so many black downward trend lines. But this would be the smaller channel within the bigger channel that we'd want to be ranging within. Even if this consolidates and starts fading out in the selling pressure, we could see easy pushes back up towards this downward trend line. And if that can get broken, then we could consider as support. As I was saying, even though we're above the 200 EMA, you want to see a close and hold. 1 day close, or 2 days, I guess, isn't a close and hold. You want to see some consolidation, validation that the 200 EMA is considered support, which clearly it pulled right back underneath it. Tried faking some people out, acting as if it was going to get support, but that is no confirmation, and it died down and had that decrease in price, obviously, alongside what Bitcoin was doing. That's essentially what my video would be for today. It's just unfortunate with the market manipulation, like October 10th, what happened with the government shutdown and all that. In all previous crypto history, 15 plus years, whatever it may be, over a decade, we never had something happen like what happened in October 10th, right here. This was not typical. Typically, an altcoin season, you would see we have a low back here at 0.008. We found a stable base. This is a black downward trend line that it tested after breaking out, right? If you can't see it, I know it's, I'm gonna keep zooming out. But we had the 200 EMA holding it down. It broke out. This is more or less a downward trend line we kind of put through the center of the two red trend lines. But it came back towards almost exactly where the black trend line was placed. Found it as support, but it's more so that the 200 EMA held it as support, and it could not break that red downward trend line. So with that, you had the continuation, and October 10th, more or less here, if you look on any chart, it's going to have a major wick off. Surprisingly, XCN didn't have as big of a wick off as some other coins, but it had that consolidation in these two orange lines that are coming across, or I guess three. It's more or less the fair value gap, that where the price is more than likely to consolidate, and whether it push up over this orange line or below this orange line decides which way it'll be moving, or more than likely to move. And we see that it broke this down, the bottom orange line, and had the continuation. And we were just trying to build some kind of evidence, putting this red line in here, because prior we had this red line like right about here, but then it had a little bit further push out. And so we adjusted our line. It's still a wedge pattern in my opinion. And typically you see that movement where it touches the bottom, it touches the top a few times, always comes back down to the bottom for the most part. And typically you see this bullish movement happen in a slow consolidation form to the upside, maybe a little pullback, and then taking off. But from this point in XCN, We essentially want to see this green line follow suit, or at least hold within this channel. Could we pull back even more? Yes, I drew this red line right here to imitate where the CM guppy was going to be if we didn't have this massive breakout. So more or less this range, this pocket is our support area right in the center of this purple triangle. However, the true support is all the way down here at 0.0038. Some people are going to want to sell off and get a better entry price. Maybe we don't pull back anymore. We got to kind of see what's going to happen with Bitcoin, and if it starts building more of a base. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions. And right now, the contest, we have no donations for the contest. So if you guys want to collect money together and then divide it between one person, it's always an opportunity. 50% of all donations go to save animals' lives, and the other 50% is going to be put in a pot. And I have to call this a live contest, or else YouTube says I'm giving away money like a lottery. So let's do a Q&A. Let's see. Where is oops. I don't even know what that is. I don't know what I did there. Oh no. What is happening? I guess I did a Q&A thing. I don't know what well, in that. I don't even know what that is. Do a poll. This is just for randomosity. We're just kind of, I can't even create polls. Oh, it's too long. Got it. Just click a button and then write in the chat what you think the next levels are. .02 major sell wall. .02. Yep, that is correct. Right around there. First one we'd be looking at is more or less this red box, the 0.236. Just because sometimes we see coins struggle to break out of there. A lot of the times, however, it just breaks right through it and does get a little resistance at that next box up, which is 0.382. And then we have more or less resistance here at 0.02637 and 0.031. However, we'd more than likely start fading out here around the 0.35 is my guess. But we've seen some crazy things happen. A lot of people, like for example, back in January of 2025, we saw that major push up and a lot of people sold everything, said I'm out. But it clearly built higher lows, was building above the CM guppy, which is very important. As we see last time, it consolidated and then got pushed up and then did not enter. If we zoom in here, did not enter into the green on the CM guppy. So I had this major push up, a bunch of people selling off, having that pullback like what we are seeing now, but a lot quicker because it wicked off within the day. Had another push up, wick off, tried selling off, could not sell any lower, and then had that continuation. So we could be seeing something like that for this point in time if we break out of this red triangle. So we have to break this red line. That's what we've been waiting for. But just like what we are seeing now with this pullback, you would essentially say the price point, see if I can find the correct tool. This one, price range. Take from the bottom of the flag to the top. Then we can click, drag, and if this breaks out of this channel, we could expect that much of a push up, which is essentially what I had here, the 75 to 100% push up. But typically, if we were to break out that high, that's breaking over the red box into the yellow. There's not a whole bunch of resistance to let it not ride to 0.02. But ideally, we wouldn't want to run too far away from the red downward trend line, because just breaking it once is not stating that it is going to have a continuation. It needs to have some type of support, show it as stability. I mean, we've seen things run like crazy. I'm not trying to contradict myself, but typically this is the pattern that you want to see is when it breaks this, you want to see it come back down, tap it, and then say, okay, that is support. Same with these two orange lines, the fair value gap, that's support, and we can start moving towards the upside. But you'd be expecting around 85 to 108% push from this area. Ideally, we want to see it come up to the red trend line, have a little bit of rejection, test it multiple times so it gets very weak, and then we can push up and out over this upward purple triangle. I actually want to bring in QNT as an example. So this is QNT, and as you see right around here, November 29th, we had the break out of the channel, and then it came right back and all the way back down to the center point. Tested that as support, tested it as support again, was holding above this black upward trend line, which has been support for multiple taps, and then broke out of the channel, this top black trend line. Once that was broken, we tested 200 EMA, and now the CM guppies thinned out. 200 EMA is pretty weak as we pushed up over it once, and then we had that consolidation period right there around the $77 mark, more or less. So that's something like we can see with XCN. It doesn't look as bad with the all the stuff not on there. It's pretty healthy. Major push up, rejection, completely necessary because of the 200 EMA, and then a little bit of retrace because that's a major push up. And like I showed on my previous video, it was the Fibonacci. Starting from the bottom to the top, the Fibonacci is meeting up right with this 0.786 on the Fib retracement. So more or less respecting the golden ratio. The next step down is obviously to a full one retracement. So The people who got in at 0.004, I mean, I would just be holding this whole time if you didn't sell 20% whenever we had that major pump. If you're selling right at the middle, you're kind of tossing up the opportunity for if it does do a reversal from this point. It all really depends on what Bitcoin's going to do. If it reverses, then you're selling and you're just going to have to rebuy back in at a higher price. But if it does have its continuation downwards, you're still safe because you had that entry at that 0.004. We're just waiting for this thing to play out. I want to be surprised if we do pull all the way back down to the red downward trend line right here. If it does break out of this channel, then you'd have the potential of a possibility of continuation. And you would more than likely expect your support here as we started getting higher volume right around that price range at 0.00424. Yeah, that's what I think about that. And Dutch, you've been around for quite a few videos, huh? What else do you guys want to see? The 4 of you that came to the live chat. Someone wanted SWFTcoin. Boy, yeah. I mean, that's not a bad entry, especially if you're trying to, dollar cost average, 0.014, we're going to get back to that spot. I know people that are trapped at 0.026, 0.016, and I don't just cover XCN because those are the only people that watch the videos. I cover it because I've seen its potential and I've seen previous crypto history. And I see that the coin is not dead. It's doing things that show that people are trading within this range. The RSI is always healthy. But when I first got into XCN was before the pump. I'm sure I stated in a couple of videos. This was my last entry in XCN was back here at 0.00256, somewhere around there. Brutal Christmas because it was a lot of money and I was just waiting for Jerome Powell to get on the TV and state something. And I said the 20th I would pull some funds, and here is the 20th. You say you can't time the market. It was pretty damn good timing, but it had a continuation where if I was not getting yelled at for putting my house savings in a cryptocurrency all of December into the new year, it would have been a lot more, but it was a decent pump and held some for the ride up. So selling off of some isn't a bad idea whenever it has those major pumps. But if you're just holding, you can pretty much see the peak out. So one day it's up like way up here at 0.049. And then you got to go back in history and say, okay, that's where we had some previous resistance. I'm good on that. Or you're going to see it really quickly retrace, and then you're going to sell off at this 0.042. But it gives you a bunch of time to exit. So I was watching it whenever it was doing this movement. Coinbase did something, got some money trapped in at the top up there. Coinbase decided to have a maintenance issue right at this point for the entire market peaking. That's the best time to shut down Coinbase. Some money got trapped up in there, but sell off at a tiny loss. And then I know some people who tried entering right here, but there's no reason to be entering in around that price point. Stating this, we didn't know that this candle was going to even happen. That happened out of nowhere, major push up, and then showed that we were getting some type of resistance within this downward movement multiple times, validating it. And really, that's the only thing that needs to be broken. I keep saying it over and over again, but essentially that's what we're waiting for. When that is broken, then I can probably give you guys a little bit more information. I did. If I had listened to myself and not my partner saying I should pull my money, it would have been about $600,000. But, you live and you learn, or you try to stop arguments and do things to make other people happy. But really, you should just listen to yourself, because that's the only thing. That's why you do this, is for the trading. 7 more days would have been an extra like $300,000. It's okay. It's okay. It was a fucking brutal Christmas. After Christmas, it was all right, but yeah, you just got to pick the right coins. XCN is definitely a good coin, but I would have never entered this coin. I didn't even know what XCN was. The first time I entered XCN was, I looked at it right here. This was when I pulled it up because I saw something. I was just going through X coins or something. I saw it was way undervalued. It kept pushing out. It was starting to flatline, but then I saw the volume pick up. I was like, okay, there is a little bit of life in here. Saw it consolidate, and each one of these little blips, when you really zoom in, it's actually like 2 to 3% difference in every single bar. Actually, it's probably more than that. I was doing like the 4 hours. So say, for example, you look at these tiny little things. We'll do this one wick off candle. That right there is 17%, but every day is about 10% differential. And so it's starting to build a consolidation. RSI was looking healthy. And then right at this point, I was mainly looking at the CM guppy because I can't get any information from the 200 EMA. The 200 EMA is just calling it to come back because it needs to respect the market and build a healthy momentum. And at this point was when I first entered and took that nice little ride up. It had its consolidation. I did not sell throughout that point because it was flipping into gray. I was like, okay, the red is turning into gray. We're way away from the 200 EMA. RSI was building a healthy base. It pulled back towards the 50, which is this consolidation phase. And then it had that push up. And so I was like, okay, this coin does have some life in it. And it was about 200. I think I got 256 or something like that, somewhere in here. It's where I sold. I saw its consolidation, turned back into gray, but held it as support and was still away from the 200 EMA. So I had a re-entry and then took that next ride up. And then it had this, I sold off, I think, at the 329 or something like that, a little bit above the previous high, because I saw it wasn't going to have a continuation and run back like we were expecting. Long consolidation phase. And then right here, I looked and had my entry. And the reason was very minimal, but it was there that the 200 EMA was nice and thinned out. It was close to the chart candles. We had a downward trend line forming right here. And it was forming a wedge. So it's like, okay, or I guess a bullish pendant, more or less. We have this consolidation phase. I'm not trading any of that, I saw it try to break out from building a low, and then it had the complete support, tested the 200 EMA, and then I had my re-entry right about here when we held that support. And then we had that major push up, blow off where we had a sell off, and then I looked for it to break a downward trend line again. RSI was right at the 50, very healthy, broke the trend line, held it as support, and that's where the entry was before that major continuation. And that's just to the first blip up. So after Christmas, after the long exaggerated period, then we had that push up. Jerome Powell on the 20th, I think, said some stuff, and then we had that major continuation to the upside. So just a few days, maybe a week or two, we saw some major movement. GRT, well, you guys feel free to become members if you want. It's the less than a cost of 2 cups of coffee or 2 buy and sells on the market. and there's a lot of good info in those other videos I make, and some coins I don't even talk about, like GRT. I haven't done an update on it, but if you guys are members, I can definitely prioritize your concerns. This is what I originally had for GRT. This was the most important thing. That would be the possibility of having something showing something. And that was broken. So that's more or less, well, actually, I guess I kind of gave up on what GRT was doing when it broke this upward trend line. The only reason this was placed is because we had this one touch here, and then it built a little bit of consolidation, but it was nothing to be like, okay, this is going to keep continuing, because we could adjust this as the downward trend line, make it a little thicker, and it could not break over that downward trend line. This line was very weak due to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 10 touches to it. So then that last touch pushed it to the downside, broke the upward trend line. The upward trend line is from way back in previous history, way down here. So that's just kind of an obscure line to be putting in there. It's trying to make sense of the chart. And right now for GRT, we are at the absolute lowest point in history for GRT, I believe. Prefer the iPad. This is hard on this laptop. But I mean, I personally still have GRT. Not saying that it's a bad coin. There's definitely potential, but right now it looks absolutely like garbage to me. CM Guppy is very good on the daily. On the 4-hour, it's a little bit more violent. There's a lot of other coins that you could be looking at with different indicators for different time frames, because like this is all just red, and then it's got the little bit of green, and everybody's like, oh, we should buy because it's also above the 200 EMA. But really the daily is a little bit better indicator with the CM Guppy. And then there's another one, like, let's remove CM Guppy and put in, where are indicators? Indicator. UT bot alerts by Quant Nomad. It's supposed to be a cheat guide for buying and selling, right? Buy and sell on the 4-hour is complete madness. Like, yeah, you can zoom in and maybe it's a little bit accurate. Like, look, it said buy here, but then like 1 second later, or I guess 8 hours later, it says sell. So there's not really a bunch of profit within that move. And then it comes down here. It's like, oh, just kidding, buy it again. And then it's got a little blip up and it says sell. It's not the best indicator, especially on the 4-hour. On the daily, it's definitely a little bit more accurate. But like, for example, you see this buy signal. You're not going to see that buy signal until the candle's already green. So you're probably going to be entering in at that 0.036, and then the next candle says sell it. So then you just, it's a wash. But then it says buy again, right? So then it has that major push up, but it's like it just told you to sell. So some of these indicators are just kind of ridiculous. But I do like Ichimoku Cloud. If you guys haven't used Ichimoku, it's kind of like CM Guppy. It's a little bit better on the daily. Like, this is pretty good information. This cloud right here, this red one. Here, let's check and see if you guys, yeah, you guys aren't saying anything. The three of you in here. The Ichimoku is kind of like the wave, the CM Guppy. You see, for example, let's remove this. So we see that we have, let's get rid of that too then. We have this major red cloud pushing down. And typically what you'd want to see is it come into the cloud and the cloud showing it a little bit bigger. But since this is just a straight line down, this is a waterfall. This is like catching a falling knife is what they say. So some people might see it come all the way down here and then buy it, scalp, sell a little bit, make some profit, and then it has the continuation. That's not something you even want to touch really unless you know what you're doing. Cloud kept continuing, and then we got a push up and we started getting the thick clouds. So it's kind of losing volume. All these green lines and stuff are more or less irrelevant. You want to see the coloring on the cloud, and it got pushed down even more, built a base off a black trend line, and then pushed directly into the cloud. That's a major move upwards. That was about 42% increase, and then it came downwards, was still within the red cloud, but you're not seeing it like that. What you're seeing is it's printed for the future. So this green portion is going to slowly be switching over whenever you see this major push up. So this is already going to be happening. And then you're going to be seeing this flip, and then it'll be like, oh, okay, now I can buy. But then it has its pullback, builds that support more or less off of the bottom of this green cloud, and then has that major continuation upward. Then, a bunch of random stuff in between, waterfall effect for GRT, but we are seeing it thin out. We are seeing a building up of higher lows, but that's no validation. There's nothing here saying, yep, that's a higher low, because it hasn't closed. We don't have any real confirmation. It could be going down further. We don't know what GRT is going to do. We have to see if it can even comply with the Clarity Act that's going to be eventually coming in. Anytime. Do you have a lot trapped in there, Joey? One person. I got one person. Shitty. Nice. Well, anything else you want to see? You're the only person in here, so it's me and you. You're getting one-on-one. I think are you a member, Joey? I feel you. Yeah, it is almost 1 o'clock here, and I feel like I'm just waking up. Here's some advertising for you. I got some new Colombian coffee that's only like 6 strength instead of 10. This is my 3rd cup. I'm wondering if it's decaf at this point, but feel free to become one. That's kind of why I'm doing live feed. Make sure you guys get some extra stuff. Me personally, I'd say fuck you. I'm not going to become a member. That's a waste of money, but hopefully it's helpful. And not only that, 50% goes to save animals' lives. It's strange. YouTube needs me to make $100 in order to get a payout, and it's been like 3 months and I haven't been able to get a payout. It's pretty crazy. Nice. One of those Cuban cigars. Smoked my lucky cigarette today, so hopefully that turns the market around. Last time I waited and smoked it, we had that 5% push on Bitcoin. You got to pay Google back? Like Google's charging you for other things, or it's through the membership that Google's charging you? Definitely take care of personal business before becoming a member, but I know like 5 people got gifted memberships on the last live. I'm not sure who gave them out, if I gave them out or what was happening, but 5 people got members, but I don't think they're watching the previous videos. which is unfortunate. And that only means that they're in for 1 month. So I can't keep an accurate tally of what's actually coming in, because it's what, $9.99 for a month. But if it's only 1 month, then 50% of my members disappear next month. So then that becomes an issue to try and get the payout for animals every month. Cool. Yeah, don't smoke cigarettes. I only smoke it with other things because it helps me calm my mind. But yeah, tobacco's getting pretty expensive everywhere. The Gypsy store down the street increased the price like 20%. But I know Australia, Woozall's from Australia. I saw they got like carton packs for 300 and some crazy number, something ridiculous. Let's see, ongoing analysis, what that are doing XCN. I did do XCN a little bit ago. It says there's 2 people in this chat, but it seems like there's more people, so that's kind of strange. But I can go back over it, and yeah, I got my credit card bill just keeps getting racked higher and higher. This is actually the highest it's been because I sell out of some of my crypto and then buy some other stuff. But this market manipulation, I'm just like, I'll pay the percent that the credit card charges and then pay it all off once we get this pump. Probably not the best way to go about life, but I think I've managed money pretty well. The pump, let's get that chart back up and then I'll read some more comments. Everybody's here for XCN, but nobody watches the other videos, which is kind of disappointing because the other ones are good. Some of you guys who are in here probably do. And we're going to actually bring in the Ichimoku cloud again if you just missed that intro on it. So let me read this real quick. The pump today is just to be working within the channel. It's in a bull flag pendant, in my opinion. But it's a minor. It's supposed to pull back. You can't have those major runs without a pullback. Yeah, definitely figure that out first. The SEC was saying that I messed up my health savings account because my company that I used to work for switched the payment process in the middle of the year. And so they sent like 2 W-2s, and then they acted like I had $300 more in my health savings than I actually did. So the government sent me a notice last year saying I owed them like 50% of my health savings account. I sent them all the information, signed paperwork, did all this stuff. And then I just got another notice the other day saying I owe the $350. It's like, how do you guys I told you the reasoning. I sent you the information you wanted, and you're still asking for 50% of my health savings? Fuck that. Are you able to set it up where you can take cash out for memberships? I mean, I might be able. I think I can gift you a membership. I don't know if that comes out of my pocket. Like if you sent cash to the PayPal and then I could gift the membership. That's a possibility. Well, if you message me on Patreon, we can maybe work something out, and I can, if you just want to do through PayPal so you don't have to deal with Google. YouTube takes 33% of everything. So like the $9.99, I'm actually getting like $6.66, and then 50% of that towards animals. So $3 a person, more or less. YouTube's pretty brutal for their memberships, but they do pay for advertising, which is cool. Memberships, YouTube's all right, maxed out. Yeah, no, the credit card's fucking bullshit. Says there's 5 watching, with 2. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Hopefully you guys either decide to become members or want to learn more information, because that's kind of what this live's for. And I would probably do live for members and try and make it a better time, because I know some of you guys are waking up at like 4 in the morning or something. I was in Washington State, Seattle, but I'm in Sevilla, Spain now. And the moment I stepped foot in Spain, taxes went up insanely. We got the tariffs. Pay wasn't very good. The housing market's garbage. They had hail in August for the first time ever. A hurricane hit the bottom left part of Spain, and they just had a train accident that killed like 40 people. So yeah, I came right at the perfect moment. Like, anywhere I go, the world's out to get me, I swear. All right, let's dig into the charts. Jesus. Hey, I hope you feel better. That's insane. I just got like my elbow. I was longboarding or electric longboarding and busted my elbow and my right thumb. Pain in the ass to wipe your own ass that way or take a shower or anything. But that surgery alone, if I didn't have health insurance, I think it was like 75% coverage. It was like a $70,000 surgery. I can't imagine the 3 spinal surgeries. I don't have Zen, or unless that's a coin or crypto. You could do crypto. That evades the heavy tax part too. But I prefer typically in like PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee, but Buy Me a Coffee takes 5%. PayPal, I think, takes like 3% or something. Everybody takes a percent for changing money except for crypto. But it just makes it easier to be able to take that 50%, transfer it to Wise, Wise to Euros, Euros to pull out to help people pay for the animal surgeries. So for the 5 people in here, let's start digging into a little bit of charts. We'll figure out what's the best way to pay. If you guys want to become members, that's awesome. That's kind of why I do these videos. I really want to see like $100 in advertising and then maybe like $100 from memberships, $200 a month. So then we can at least be pumping out maybe $100 for animal surgeries. But let's talk about the Ichimoku cloud. This is the XCN chart that we all look at daily, which we shouldn't. We should really not stare at this every day. But the major pump, I believe, I don't have the news for you on as to why that happened, other than the fact that Bitcoin took off 5%. It created that new rough high. Let's actually pull BTC up, USD, so you can see what I'm talking about. This little push up, we needed it to close and hold above the previous high. That didn't happen. It had its pullback, which is fine. It's necessary to have the RSI be healthy because we had the major almost over spot on the RSI, came back to be healthy, and then had the push up again. If that would have broke out into the overbought, we would have seen it run most likely up to like 106, 108. But since it pulled back, this is more than likely due to the Clarity Act. I talked about the Clarity Act in one of my videos, just a rough breakdown. The pullback is nothing to be worried about. It's to keep this in a healthy market. If this kept running, then you'd have that quick push up and then you have a major pullback again, stronger than what we are seeing now. We are still building higher lows. If this closes and has a continuation, the Ichimoku cloud is showing you more or less what the future may hold. And we can see this consolidate. And if this blips up a little bit, then we can see that run back up, and we need to close above this previous high, hold, consolidate, and then we could see that further continuation upwards. Moving back to XCN. Got a coffee again. Fuck. XCN pushed way up. It flatlined the Ichimoku cloud, but it did not hold. We ideally wanted it to see hold above that, but it pulled back underneath. The cloud is showing it's still thin, so it's easy for this thing to run right back up through that and flip it to green and then have that continuation. Ideally, what we'd want to see is this formation on the RSI. The push up, push down, and then something like this, breaking out, and then retracing back towards that 50 to keep the market healthy. That would essentially be pushing this up towards the red downward trend line and then getting that resistance consolidation still within this area. I should probably delete this circle because this is essentially the area that we want to be trading within, right in this area. But we'll get rid of that because it's kind of BS. Retrace to the 786 on the Fibonacci. The only other thing that it could possibly do is retrace the full amount back to the original entry, back to the support on this red line being 0.00369 and this red downward trend line. So that being support and this being support are showing a lot. And then these two yellow lines down here are essentially the fair value gap that we are expecting a liquidity sweep if it broke that red trend line, which it did not. It broke the black downward trend line and had that major push up, kind of playing it out like riding out to the very, very last point. We've seen it happen with XCN before, or sorry, XRP before. Let's see. The next support levels, let's see, watching now. Seven kids, whoa, you're active. Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could pay me an XCN. I'll make up the difference I'll have to pay something out, or I'll figure out a way to get the 50% to the animals. And exactly, yeah. I do prefer crypto because I don't have to pay PayPal, I don't have to pay YouTube, but ideally having everything set on YouTube makes it easier for me to be like, okay, there's this many members, I can see that there's $100 coming in, and I can justify it. But like one-time payment until you can figure out the PayPal or whatever, I wouldn't mind XCN. Always accepting 10% when you guys profit off of these videos, because I know a lot of people freak out when we have these major, I guess it's not major, but it seems like a major pullback, because some people would be like, oh, that's, what is that, 40 or 50%? 50% decrease in price. Yes, whenever it had that major pump, that's when you would be looking to sell because that's not normal. You shouldn't see something massively spike like that without having retracement, especially whenever it's in a wedge, because the wedge pattern is its complete support and resistance. And that's essentially where you'd be looking for a little bit of a sell-off. I wouldn't say sell your entire bag because it may not pull back to this previous entry point if you guys got in at 0.004 more or less. But you could sell like 25%, still have the other 75% at this low entry point, and pick up some more coins while it's doing its pullback. That's essentially scalp trading. It's hard to explain scalp trading in like a video that I post. I probably still have to post an XCN video because I got to get the videos for the people who don't see the live, as there's only like 2 to 5 people in here. Anything else people want to see? It's been like an hour. I want to make another coffee, actually, if I'm going to do this some more time. I'm actually going to pull up. Scott, I assume you're one of the 2 people in the chat still. Do you have XRP? I'm not a financial advisor, but it is a question. I have 5 people again. If you guys have questions, let me know. Let's see. I don't even know what that is, but we're going to see what that does. Oh, that's stickers. Let's see what that is. I wonder, they say I get paid out more with stickers, but I don't know if YouTube takes the 33%. Well, let's look at XRP. Same thing with the Ichimoku Cloud. Get rid of this. You see that it had this green blip, right? This green blip is essentially already after the move. You're seeing right here when the cloud is thinned out that it may hold support right at that line where it's thinned out at, which it did, then had the major push up, which is this green cloud. You think, oh, it might have a continuation. No, it pulls right back in. So you can't base all of your TA just off of one indicator. It's a good idea to like get different, I guess, visualizations of it all. But this isn't going to tell you shit, anything. Can't cuss on YouTube. This isn't going to tell you anything because it touches down here and then it runs, and you're not seeing any of this. You're seeing a red cloud. You're like, oh, we got to make it through the red cloud. But what happens once it made it through the red cloud? Had the major push up. So you kind of have to make judgments. Here we are thinning out, but we are underneath that thinned out point. So do we have a continuation downwards? Does the cloud just start to consolidate like this? If that builds sideways, is it going to push it further down? Are we going to build a base? Start asking a lot more questions with Ichimoku, but play around with it. Try different indicators. Me personally, my strategy that seems to be extremely accurate, I'd say about 90% accurate, besides market manipulation, is the CM Guppy trend lines. CM Guppy includes the 200 EMA. Some other ones, like maybe you could do, I guess, Bollinger Bands or let's see. I'll go Bollinger Bands. That's not what I want to see. Get rid of that. Just Bollinger Bands in general. So sometimes this is the 200 EMA more or less, and this is on Bollinger Bands. So it's used in this indicator as well. Maybe that's not. Maybe I'm confused. But you can kind of see that the tunnel's getting real tight. The pressure's building up, held above that 200 EMA, and then that major push up, holding right next to that red line before tapping out, showing that it's going to consolidate. And then this Bollinger Band shows more or less where the support's going to be or should be. It's not always there. And then we come all the way back down, tap that, and then perfectly come back up to the red. And Bollinger Bands is very similar to another one that I like to piece in from time to time, but it's better on the daily than it is on the 4 hour. Oh, I just clicked something. I don't even know what that indicator is. It looks decent, but the other one is Nadaraya Watson Envelope by Lux Algo. I talked about this one in a previous video, but it's pretty accurate. I want to be basing my entire strategy off of it, but it's pretty accurate. Let's go to comments, see if anything new. Oh, a lot of new. That's good. Yeah, XCN's probably my second biggest bag, but a lot of people want me to cover it, so I try and cover it every day. I really wonder what people would do if I did it only for members. They'd probably go watch somebody that just says buy everything, no matter if it keeps continuing downwards. But well, I don't mind accepting XRP or XCN or Bitcoin. Those are my top three. I don't really own any Bitcoin anymore. I needed a car, I needed other things. So I sold a lot of my Bitcoin back in the day. But it's always good to have like $50 setting aside into Bitcoin for your just stash because it goes up by over 50% every year. So it's just like increasing in value rather than decreasing. And XYO. Yeah, no, you're right up there with me, dude. XRP, XCN, I think XYO, Quant. I got some Compound. I did have some PERP, Perpetual Protocol, BNT, DNT. I'm a little bit too diversified. I got quite a few others that are just like, a couple hundreds here and there, but they definitely decrease in size. But XRP is my biggest bag. I put in a bunch on that just for dollar cost averaging, and then XCN being my second. GRT for me, I love the Link. Yeah, I was looking at Link the other day. No, I don't really use linear charts. I use them for like if I enter into TradingView. Oh, you can't see my screen, I don't think. Yeah, you can't see that screen. TradingView on their like homepage, if you like go to a specific coin, here I'll pull it up. So like say for example, let's just go straight to XCN. See overview. I don't know how many of you guys are like brand new to trading, or if you're just brand new to crypto, or if you're just buying things people are saying. But sometimes I like to come down here. You can see they got the oscillators neutral. I don't really pay much attention to these because I've seen these be in strong sell, and then the next like 4 hours it's a strong buy. But you can kind of see this is the comparison from the previous year. So 2024, 2025, we are now in 2026. And in 2025, we had that major push up, about 1,448% is what it's stating is the price increase. It was more than that, but this would be essentially the chart I'm looking at. And if you compare it, I mean, obviously 2025 was definitely more bullish than 2024. But 2024 it was just being discovered. So we can still expect major pumps like that for 2026. Currently still all the way over here, you see 59.2% above its low. And this is more or less the linear chart I would look at. It's good, a decent comparison. It's not just the line chart, but let's pull up the actual chart. Oh, let's go back one more. There we go. And live. And anytime you guys got any more questions or anything you want me to cover, I guess I could go why I looked at Link. It's got good utility. It's trying to build a base here off this thin line. We can actually make that a little thicker. And essentially you'd want to hold that. But when we look at this, there's no validation that this is going to hold. And typically we would see this break, if anything. And I guess I didn't explain Daria Watson or Daria Watson envelope. This is essentially more or less Bollinger Bands. I don't know. After a while, you come kind of immune to all the different indicators. You can get a bunch of different ones. But let's go back in history. Actually, I'll talk more about the indicator on XRP because I can show you a very good reasoning. But we have link like bottoming out, trying to hold that stability. But this downward black trend line is pretty much suppressing this. And what we could see is this daily candle either pushed down, and typically you'd want it to start finicking out around this red line on the Naria-Watson, which would also be oversold in the RSI, which typically needs to retrace, which would equal consolidation. Moving that. So could expect this. And then you'd want it to get over this black trend line, even if it's testing underneath that upward trend line and testing this, that's healthy because then that shows that this line is going to be support. But let's go to XRP USD. Whoops. Naria-Watson on XRP. So, for example, this is all the information we get from the indicator back until this day. And this is on the daily. So there's a very wide range. You see that way down here in all these lines. There's the dotted red line that follows and the dotted green line. So more or less, it's like it can go to absolutely nothing or it can go to about 85 cents. It's in a tunnel. It's going sideways. Then out of nowhere, there's no indicator on the Naria-Watson that says it's going to go up. But we did break a downward trend line. They beat the SEC in a lawsuit, which is practically unheard of. And that's essentially what pushed it up. And then you see it pushed all the way up. And the Naria-Watson is kind of following, trailing this, and it's pushing way up. So you're like, okay, maybe it's going to tap out in this area. Has a continuation. The line goes even higher and wider. Then it taps that green line, comes back, consolidates, and the purple or the red line is coming up, and then it consolidates, touches that bottom line, and then has the push upwards, does it yet again, and then has the major push up, but then it breaks out. Typically, you'd say, okay, there's going to be some resistance here on the green line. We've seen it happen twice before, but no, it has its continuation for the rest of the day up to around 285 before pulling back all the way and a little bit more to the red line on the Naria-Watson envelope. We are currently in a sideways tunnel. Even though it's close, it is very close. Let's get rid of this. It's annoying. Close to the red dotted line. Let me make sure you guys are still in here. 6 of you, and I'll see what the comments are and then dig more into it. Yeah, Doge I hear could hit $4, but I was in Doge for a quick scalp around that 25 cent area and then ended up pulling out and putting it into something else, I think. Brand new to crypto and trading. Nice. Yeah. I hope you, none of this is financial advice. Obviously, I'm not allowed to do that. That's illegal. And nobody donated, so I don't have a pot to be dividing between the people. Even if the 8 of you in here donated $2, it's donating $2 and 50% goes to save animals' lives. The other 50% is divided between you guys. So as long as like 3 people donate $2, we can actually spin the wheel. Here's a, oops. Let's get rid of all that. Here, let me pull up something. I'll pull up the PayPal for you guys. If you guys are interested, and then I'll check it. If nobody donates, no harm, no foul. It would be ideal if you guys did. Here is the PayPal. And there's also XRP with its MEMO if you wanted to do XRP, but the division of that will be a little bit more complex for me. But it's there for you guys if you wanted it. Let's see. And that's good of you, man. How old are you, Scott, to just start getting into crypto and trading? Yeah, levels. Bitcoin, Bitcoin's pulling back for whatever news or whatever reason. It's nothing really to be worried about because the market manipulation, it suppressed Bitcoin from doing what it does. Bitcoin year after year repeats itself 4 times, I think, in the past decade. Hey, thank you, NK. But 4 times in the past decade and a half, god damn. It repeats itself. And what it should have done, if I pull up the chart, according to history, from repeating history, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. World War I, World War II, that kind of stuff. This entire section, this orange box that I have here, this 30 to 36% pullback, isn't what was supposed to happen. What was supposed to happen is called Uptober for a reason, because we see October right here, September moving right into October. We had that major push up, created a new all-time high. We were supposed to have some consolidation and upward movement, more consolidation, letting altcoin season kick in, and other cryptos say, hey, Bitcoin's at a new all-time high. It's building a new base. It's in consolidation. And then have the continuation potentially up to 160 to 250. I say 160 to 250 because we are more than likely going to 160. 250 is the wow factor. And I say that because that is more or less the peak of the fib retracement. Typically, I like to be a little conservative and say maybe around 240. But it's got a long way to go to be getting to that level. And when Bitcoin does take off, like the things we don't like to see, which are very quick movements to the upside, that's essentially what we want to see with Bitcoin. We want to see it break a level and then have that major run up. Yeah, thank you. And NW Kier, is that Northwest Skier? And thank you. I feel you. Yeah, no. Yeah, I feel you on the tight budget. There's so many things I want to get, can't get because we've been suppressed for this long. And thank you for the donation too. And we would need at least 1 or 2 other people to make it worthwhile. Otherwise, I think YouTube, they have to wait till I get $100 to pay me out. So the $2 that is in a sticker form is trapped until I can get $100 to be able to do the wheel. But if it's to the PayPal, then it's like, okay, the money's stashed there and then I can divide it out from there. But I will take note that you have donated, and if we do not get any more donations this round and I cannot pay you back with the donation or the sticker, you'll be set into the next round. So NW Kier, $2. Much appreciated. And not only that, a whole dollar of the $2, or whenever you become a member, the $3 of the $10, because YouTube takes 33%, will go to save animals' lives. And I don't know if I should be putting it on this channel if I'm going to get flagged for posting surgeries, but I feel like it would be respectful to show you guys the surgeries that happen with the money that is accumulated. I don't know if I have to create a new channel for that or what. But I was even considering doing a brain rot channel to see if I can even make $1 off of, the random videos people put up. YouTube's been very, very slow. Interested says where you can help me learn how to do some trading or make some active money. I'm waiting. Yeah, active money instead of waiting. That's the hard part, is that I can't tell you where to sell. That's financial advice. It's definitely up to you guys. But there's a phrase where it's like something about bulls and bears, but pigs get slaughtered. I don't know the exact terminology, but essentially it's like, if you don't sell, you're going to get your ass handed to you and slaughtered. So you're not going to make the profit. But if you're taking profit, even if it's 20% while you let the rest move up and down, just look at the stock market. The stock market will increase rapidly, and then it'll have major dump for a year or two, and then it'll increase again, and you'll be up. But over the course of time, it's up 10% on average. Vale. I still got you down, so whenever we get enough donations, you'll still have your $2 as an extra ticket for the contest. And definitely Scott Chapman on Patreon. I got Patreon in the description, I believe. You can direct message me, so it's not just comments back and forth, and I can do one-on-ones with you, that kind of stuff. I try to upload to Patreon every time, but it's a pain sometimes because some of the videos don't upload correctly. But I do receive direct messages. So if you are looking for one-on-ones or learning the basics, I can be piecing together a course. I can just talk to you individually. But becoming a member, one of the main perks is I try to cover the coins that you guys want. And so live is beneficial for people who are not members. But ideally, I'd love for you guys to become members, and we can actually have conversations on many different coins going back and forth, so I don't have to do individual videos and upload them. Every video I do, I don't have enough gigabytes on my iPad, so I have to upload it, make sure it works, delete it, get the thumbnail, put that on, and then once that's all set, wait a little bit, upload the video, and then restart the next one. And then sometimes my microphone doesn't work. I still got to buy a microphone. Someone gave me money for microphone. Slacking on your guys' entertainment. Let's see, 46, ran a business for 20 years. Well, congratulations to you. Running a business isn't easy. And 3 spinal surgeries, definitely not easy. Oh, shit, landscape contractor. Yeah. Yeah, that's tough work, man. You can definitely make some good profits in cryptos. And the charities I support are saving animals' lives. Over here, I moved to Spain 2 years ago, I think. And I know the vets, nurses, pretty much everybody who works in the biggest veterinary hospital in Andalusia, so all the south of Spain. This hospital, they take in a lot of people. They're open 24/7. The people are overworked and heavily underpaid. Like a doctor here gets $2,000 a month. The nurses and vets, about 1,400. I think my partner's taxes, get this, my partner's taxes were 2% on her paycheck when she was working the first 3 months. It's not a definite contract, it's indefinite, is what, whenever you become indefinite, it's like, okay, I'm here to work, I got a contract, it's set. Like if you guys fire me, I can get money from the government, whatever. But whenever you don't have that contract, you're like a temp. So after the 3 months, she became indefinite, and her 2% taxes went to 8%. And then Spain did some other tax thing and went from 8% to 11%, and then 11% to 18%. And back in December, she was taxed 24% on her paycheck. So maybe she made 2,000 minus 24%. I think it was like 1,400. for like 40-hour work weeks, actually overtime, 50 hours a week. You don't get paid overtime. Yeah, it's just fucking hell. It's the government is what gets paid the most in Spain. But the charities, the donations that you guys give, stickers, memberships, merch buys, all that stuff, 50% goes to the people. A lot of people come in and they can't afford their animal surgery. As crazy as it sounds, I know, but say a $200 surgery and the average pay is like 1,400. Rent went up from like 350. Now it's like anywhere from 550 to $800. So that alone, just rent, kind of, the housing market's garbage here. This house is an ice box. I have to wear socks and mittens inside because it's freezing. And yes, everybody wants to buy low, sell high, hold and buy again. And manipulation definitely set everybody back because it's not what we were expecting. I try not to give out personal information. I think YouTube, maybe you can message me on YouTube, but well, I did have a Telegram, but then the bot started making like 2 or 3 fake accounts of my Telegram. You could maybe find me on Discord, or unless you're trying to avoid apps and you're just trying to text. I just try to avoid giving out my phone number for cybersecurity reasons. Jesus. Yeah, but I hear London, if you win the lottery, you don't have to pay taxes. What's up with that? not to brag, but that's insane. 2,500, a 1-bedroom. Yeah, it sounds illegal. Really, you can get for $700. You can get somebody's attic in Barcelona, where you can like take a shit and go to the bathroom in a toilet crouched over. I think where I was at in Washington, the tiny towns are about 1,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment, but that's like in a town in the middle of nowhere. And then Seattle is ridiculous, like 2,300 for a 1 or 2-bedroom. Yeah, I'd accept computers, but shipping to Spain that's where you're punished. It costs you more to ship something to Spain than it is to receive it. And I prefer iPads, honestly, but I mean, if you're handing out free computers, I'm not going to deny it. And I may even switch to doing a computer, but the moving around, I don't have a mouse. I'd probably need a mouse too. With the iPad, I can kind of flip through the stuff a little bit quicker and zoom in instead of clicking and dragging. I guess I could do that with a mouse too. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Always accepting free stuff. And if you were to send a computer, it'd be going to the hospital. Because people have a tendency to steal stuff here in Spain. I don't know. It's like every Amazon package never shows up. I see why they don't have any guns. And they got laws where if you film somebody like stealing your stuff, you can't take it to court, even if you have their face, because it's facing like outside of your property or if it's facing the street. There's so many ridiculous laws here. Actually, I should be talking about the CBDCs that are going to be implemented. It's going to be detrimental to this country, I'll tell you that. Is that ISA? What? 20K? That's pretty damn good. I think USA has like the Roth IRAs, which are about the best you can do, but you're not taxed on the profit or the interest earned, I think, but you have to wait till you're a certain age. So like if I say I want to wait till I'm 60 before I can touch it, and then it's 56 when I pull it, then I get dinged on a massive percentage. And as for, let's talk about CBDCs and I guess the Clarity Act. The Clarity Act is what essentially pushed XCN, XRP, and all that back a little bit, because Coinbase, they want to give out a higher percentage yield for everything that you have. So specifically with like XRP, you can stake it with Flare Network, you can stake with a bunch of different companies in the near future and earn anywhere from 5 to 20, even 35%. Like XCN, you can earn, I think, 32 to 39% with staking, where you just set the money aside and it earns. But the banks wanted to control. They had it like secret, tiny writing words saying in the Clarity Act that decentralization like Bitcoin would be centralized, meaning they can control it, which is not what decentralization is for, or why cryptocurrency was made essentially. And the yield you would earn would be based on what the bank wants you to earn. So instead of earning 20 to 35% APY through like a cryptocurrency exchange, the bank would be able to earn that, but any individual holder would get like 3.5% of the 20% that the bank's making. And so the founder, the CEO of Coinbase saw that and did not sign the petition, which had the pullback for a lot of the market. Essentially, they want to get it finished by the end of January, but we all know that could mean the end of 2026 before anything gets implemented, because this year and this pullback is not normal. With Bitcoin doing its major pullback, it hasn't happened in the past decade and a half. Let's see. Yeah, the whole thing with crypto. So the people who have watched my channel and not done it yet, Tornado Cash. I'd like to bring up Tornado Cash because that is a great way. I'm not giving you tax evasion advice in any way. You hear that, YouTube? I am not giving tax evasion advice in any way. But there's this cool thing. It's called Tornado Cash. And it's actually one of the healthiest coins in the market. And let's go to October 10th, September, October 10th. Look at that. What happened on October 10th with Tornado Cash? Blip. Let's put that in there. Let's get rid of Naria Watson. Let's put in the CM Guppy. There it is. CM Guppy. So October 10th, zooming in, this is October 10th. What was supposed to happen with Tornado Cash on October 10th? Well, we are creating higher highs. We created definitely a higher high all the way up here at $21. And you had the opportunity to buy on the 26th of September. So what is that, like 17 days? 14 days, something like that, 2 weeks. You could have bought in at $11 as expressed. I talked about buying underneath $11 here, and here. And then we finally broke out of it, had a major retracement. Vladimir Putin, the creator of Ethereum, backed this coin. And then we had the push up above 11. $11 is our wall. We see we're trying to break it here, but the 200 EMA is getting tired of this and is going to fling this thing into a new dimension, because what happened was October 10th, market manipulation. This coin, back when I was talking about it, when we had our first entry back here at around 750 in the May of 2025, we crossed a downward trend line. We held over the 200 EMA. We saw it hold as support, and we had our entry right here, $7.60. Had another entry at 11, had another entry at 12 and 13, and we were supposed to have this run all the way up here to around $27, or even all the way up here to $39. But what happened? Market manipulation. Even with the market manipulation, however, Tornado Cash is still well in profit from our entry, our original entry, about 50% increase in price. When XCN is crashing, this is why we do diversification, because when one coin's going down, if you're diversified, maybe have a couple grand in this one, couple grand in that one, $100 in this, $100 in that. But throughout this entire year, it's still up over 46% from the original entry. Tornado Cash, some people say they can't trade it because you're going to need to use a VPN. There's free VPNs, virtual private networks. You download the virtual private network, you connect to it. It typically puts you in like Netherlands or some other country. And then you click the reference link in the description below of any of my videos for MEXC. And when you use that reference link, I believe you get $20 USDT airdrop to you. There might be some regulation where you have to put in $100 into MEXC. Don't use your credit card. Maybe transfer like $100 of, XCN or XRP or whatever you got. Transfer that over, do one futures trade, and then I think you get the $20, or it just airdrops you $20. I'm unsure. But that's where you can trade Tornado Cash. Maybe you can't do future trades now because I think I was restricted from doing future trades unless I did KYC, which is know your customer, meaning you have to type in your, ID or something like that. If you're in the US, I don't recommend putting any KYC because they may say your account's going to be blocked. You have 7 days to remove your funds. Then you have to remove the funds, and it's a whole process. But if you're connected to a VPN and then click the reference link, create a account on MEXC, you can buy Tornado Cash. And as I've explained in almost every video, we're not just looking at $11 turning into 39, because 39 is just like the $5 mark for XCN. If we can get up that high, we will have a retracement, but we will more than likely find support. And then the next real resistance, 55, but beyond 55, 82, and we could blast past both of those and go up to the first Fibonacci retracement all the way at 110, which is a minimum of 10x your money from entry right now. 10x is the base possibility in my opinion, but typically we see a 618 retracement, which is this orange box right here, which is $286 for a $10 investment in Tornado Cash. And if you don't know about Tornado Cash, it washes money. So you can send, like, for example, Bitcoin to Tornado Cash's network and have your other wallet that's anonymous, like MetaMask, connected. Hopefully his live doesn't get flagged or something, but that's essentially what Tornado Cash does. I'm going to stop talking about it so I don't get flagged for telling you guys the benefits of coins that people don't really talk about. And let's see, let's continue with the comments. I don't have to worry about, yeah, you don't have to worry about crypto profit tax if you're in the red. You could always sell and then claim $3,000 as a loss and then just rebuy it. 5 cats and 3 surgeries, man. I hope you got one of those electric cat scoop pooper boxes. We got 4 cats and I have to clean up their poop like every 2 or 3 days. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah, you can easily build an account with any of the coins that I typically bring up. If there's anything else you guys want to see, this thing's been going on a minute. Let's see. This one. This is typically a coin only members see, so don't be afraid to become members. There's a lot of good information. There are maybe 10 of you in this chat, which is cool to see, but BNT. So if you are a member, you've already seen this be covered a little bit and the basics, but we will go over it again. We see, let's see if there's anything in previous history. No, we'll go with this first one. So this first one, we have a downward trend line, very basic. It tapped 1, 2, and then 3 times, got that resistance, but started building higher lows. If we draw a line, boom, we got higher lows. And then we crossed over a downward trend line, tested it as support, tested it again, as well as that upward trend line. And then once we saw that this was crossing over the previous high right here, that's typically where a lot of people are entering. Some people entered off of this bounce, a little bit more risky because it could just keep going down. But when you see the close above the previous high, then it pushed up over the 200 EMA, had its retracement like we're seeing with XCN right now. But XCN's underneath the 200 EMA. This is above the 200 EMA, tested that as support, and then we had our major push up. Again, started another downward trend line, tested it roughly 3 times, and then broke the trend line, and this one just ran. So this is actually where I risked it for the biscuit a little bit and had an entry at that downward trend line. It was actually a prime entry, and it ran again to the upside. We had her pull back to the 200 EMA, held it as support, started building some higher highs, and then here it did not hold support on the 200 EMA because market manipulation, October 10th. So completely unnecessary for market manipulation. It should have held support on that 200 EMA. It should have moved upwards, building higher lows. But market got manipulated, and that was October. Here we are in January, almost February, and it's done its bleeding out process. But in the teal, you see more or less it could be an inverse head and shoulders, this being the right shoulder, which still can be a right shoulder if this plays out and Bitcoin starts to pull up. We could see this cross, this downward trend line. If it closes above this previous high, around 45 cents, we can see this yet again push up over the 200 EMA, consolidate, and then have a continuation. And the all-time high for BNT. And we have a lot of data. $1 being strong resistance, $1.94 on the fib, all the way up here at $2.37. Keeping in mind we're currently under 40 cents. There's the next Fibonacci resistance at 371, and then major resistance here at 468. 40-cent investment to $4.68 is a possibility. 618 typical reversal or resistance at 578, and that's just this Fibonacci retracement. 817 to 925 for a 40-cent investment. We would more than likely see some resistance right around the $7 mark, if not a little bit lower. But when we zoom out even more, we can't. The bigger picture is this Fibonacci, which is all the way up here at 1056, the 618 being up here at 12, and we see this thing all the way up, full one retracement being $20. And typically when you hit an all-time high, you expect a minimum of double, which would be putting us up here somewhere around 51 to 71 is a possibility. Nothing set in stone. We have some major resistance on the way up. Downward red trend line. The resistance is more or less at the $7 mark from a 40-cent investment. Keeping in mind we'd still have to hold above the $1 to $2 mark. And if that held, we don't really have much resistance from $2 to double money of the $2. But then some people may be looking at entering at 5, and they only really have a $2 range, so about a 50% increase in price possibility from there. But if you're stacking a bag of BNT, I'm not saying stack a big bag, but see what you can do with $1. And BNT is actually it's showing some signs. It's showing, like we have the data from previous history. Right, there's the 200 EMA, resistance, and then out of nowhere crossed over the 200 EMA and had that major increase in price. Let's say here to here, 654%. And then there to there, about 1,700 over the course of the year. But it went over 1,700 and showed that we can push all the way up to $9, not showing that the coin was dead because we pushed up to $10 previously. So we have data stating that $10 is a possibility, $9 is a possibility. What's stopping BNT from tapping $7 to $8 as a possibility? And that would be the third touch to that downward trend line, which would essentially mean if that line can be broken, we don't really have a whole bunch of resistance besides $8.20 to make it up to the new all-time high. And good morning. Do it tomorrow. Yeah, oh shit, that's not good. Yeah, was it their mouth or the litter box that caused the infection? And VPN, virtual private network, I always recommend Proton VPN. It's free. What am I getting? I'm looking for the charger. But Proton, using Proton, then you can connect. And once you're connected, it's like you're connected to a Wi-Fi in Netherlands or whatever location the Wi-Fi VPN chooses. And I see there's 8 of you in here. It's been about 2 hours. There has been one $2 donation. So I do not think the wheel is going to happen. But for everybody who is in here, feel free to become a member, like, subscribe. I'm going to get more coffee, and then I will be back. Let me know in the chats what you want me to cover, and I will try to do that real quick. And then I got to do dishes. I got to study some Spanish. There's some things I got to get done. But first, write in the chat what you guys want me to cover. I'm going to make some more coffee. All right. Nothing? Nobody wants to see anything? So I guess I can just go ahead and rant then. Write in the comments what you would like to see. I'm going to talk about CBDCs though. Hopefully this live does not get flagged or anything because I don't want them to shut it down. Right, Swift Coin, ZBEC Dash. Right, okay, we'll go over those. Let's see, 1 sec. See, I don't think anybody donated, so I don't think there's going to be a wheel except for Northwest Key. Okay. And CBDCs. Why I think, yep, nothing. CBDCs for Europe or specifically Spain are going to be detrimental because the only way people are surviving is getting dark money. And like, for example, a guy has a cleaning business and he makes maybe $4,000, but after the taxes and everything, the government, they charge like $300 a month just to have a business. He makes like $1,000 after the taxes. So like 75% tax on $4,000. It's unsustainable. And if Europe goes to CBDCs and they can track all the money and say euros are useless now and people can't buy stuff or do dark money, it's going to be a big problem for Spain. And we're going to do Swift coin. So what is the possibility of Swift? It is building a base, as talked about previously. We got these double bottom. If I were a bear in this market, I would be pretty worried about trying to sell this lower. I would expect this to be the base. And this isn't the best support line. We could still see this pull back to a triple bottom. There's nothing in validation stating that it isn't going to pull back because we are waiting to see what Bitcoin's going to do. But as this blue line was drawn, we see that I did say there would be a slight pullback because we had that major pump, slight pullback, and then we want to see it push over the 200 EMA, consolidate within the fair value gap in between the 0.007 and 0.008. And then once it's held support over that 200 EMA, then we want to see the push upwards. But pushing up massively immediately over the 200 EMA is more than likely going to have a retracement back underneath the 200 EMA. Swift coin, let's see, you'd need to be building higher lows. There's no validation for higher lows. No reason to be entering if you haven't entered, because this thing could be traveling all the way down here. There's a lot of range for this to go. You want to see it hold, stabilize, build a higher low. And then if it does, you would expect, if it holds, to do something like this. Test. There's the 200 EMA coming in right around this area. More than likely get a little resistance, push up, test it as support, consolidate, and then work to the upside. More or less similar to what this blue line is doing, but there's no reason to be entering into Swift coin at this moment. RSI is healthy. It's pulling back like it should. Let's get rid of this fib. Whoops. Rid of the fib. And the true fib, there's quite a bit of resistance. Oh. 618's all the way up at roughly 3 cents. Swift coin currently at 0.004. The risk to reward ratio, it's about 500% to the upside, almost 600% downside. You're looking at maybe 34 to 40% as the possibility of the pullback. pretty good risk to reward, but ideally you do not want to be entering into SWFTcoin until you see it consolidate right around the 0.008. Yes, that is 100% more expensive than its current price, but until you see the CM Guppy flip to green and start building support, building higher lows, not just this little bit of consolidation, that's when you would be looking for an entry up to the 200 EMA. But there's nothing showing that this is going to be upward trend line support. Yeah, that's not fun. That is not fun. Cats are dangerous. Huh, Fada? You lick your butthole? You lick your butthole, Fada? Yeah, you lick your butthole. All right, Z-Back and Dash. That's the hardest part in trading. It'd be a lot easier if it wasn't manipulated back in October. It is going on nearly 2 hours, though, for the video. And I may even create a video for XCN because it's good to out of the 1,000 subscribers, only like 10 showed up in here. So I'd hope. I try and get off here at like 14, maybe 1500 military time, which is 3 or 4. But like I was planning talking about this stuff at like 7:30 in the morning, and here we are, 4 in the afternoon. I got to study Spanish. I'm studying teaching English as a foreign language. I got to learn my own language so I can maybe, I think if I become an English teacher here, maybe 800 euros for 40-hour work weeks. And I know for a fact I can make that with the click of a button in the crypto market when we get back to reasonable levels. And it's very deterring to want to work for 12 months for $12,000 to $16,000 when I can just click a button and scalp 10 grand in a few minutes. Let me get my coffee and we'll do ZBEC. One moment. It's not ready. It's not ready. All right, so ZBEC network. For the 6 people in here, feel free to become members. That is kind of why I'm doing this, as I know 4 members are going to be no longer with me this next month, trying to get a consistent amount coming in so we can save these animals' lives. 1 member at a time. But ZBEC network underneath the 200 EMA found its base. This is essentially a triple bottom. Started building some support, tested the 200 EMA, got a little rejection, completely normal, fine, typical. RSI, healthy, moved back to the 50. What we'd more than likely see or would want to see is this purple line doing something like this, getting the rejection a little bit over the yellow, and then building up, come potentially back to the 50, and then breaking out. That's essentially what I would want to see with ZBEC. Is that going to happen? Maybe. We're making educated guesses, not financial advice. Just trying to get you guys informed on the possibilities. And we are working within this channel, clearly, right within this channel, we could maybe this is playing out. Maybe this, not so much. It's looking for something. It's called a diamond pattern, but this isn't really the best representation of a diamond pattern. ZBEC, essentially we have to break out of this channel to start seeing some movement, but we could see something similar to like what we've seen with QNT, where we have that breakout outside of the channel, and then we come right back in and find some support, potentially on the midline. You see, I'm just kind of piecing this together bit by bit. Nothing is set in stone, but we're getting more and more information just by drawing lines. So look at this channel right here. These three thick black lines. We'll make the center one a little bit thinner. And when we compare this to QNT, here's QNT, similar channel, downward channel, had a major push up out of the channel, major rejection because of the 200 EMA, and we were overbought in the RSI, pulled all the way back down, but found support more or less on that middle trend line. Found the support again, and this orange line right here on QNT has been major support back here in June of 2025. We've seen it as major resistance and support in previous history, and it's held support down here as well. So if this does push down, that's where we'd be looking more or less for the support at the $60 mark. That really would have to depend on Bitcoin pulling back to around 75K before immediately pulling back up. But as of right now, it looks like QNT is out of its channel. It's not out of its element. The 200 EMA is very close, and we are trying to hold support above the 78.25, which last time we held support above the 78.25, we easily pushed over the 200 EMA a little bit further and then had that consolidation on top of the 200 EMA. So what we may expect is the holding support, pushing up, get a little bit of blip, testing this yellow trend line, and then getting some consolidation before breaking out, hopefully testing that as support, and then pushing back up to around the 123 for QNT. This one. Now my coffee's done. Give me 1 second. All right. Still 6 people, maybe. Write in the chat if you guys are still here or if there's something you want to see. I think I covered all the other ones. ZBEC. What else? ZBEC, Swift, and something else. Oh, now 5 of you guys. Going on 2 hours. So if there's 5 people in here, let me know. Let's see if I can do. Oh, that's going to be crazy. I don't know how I would do that. I'll have to see if I can do gifting memberships. So I can, if you wanted to send the XCN or XRP, then I can maybe just add you to the membership, but then it'd be like a monthly thing where I'd have to do that. I'm unsure. But there's 60 in here, so whatever you guys want to see, I'll try and bust out a few more minutes. And if you guys are interested, Roller Coin. I've been playing Roller Coin for a while. Quite a few. Whenever I'm bored or on the toilet, I just open up this thing in my internet on the phone, and using this reference link, you get 1,000 Satoshi for free. It's a dumb little game, like Flappy Rocket, Tetris, that kind of stuff. But you can play a game and earn, say, for example, XRP, Bitcoin, Litecoin. It depends on the tier. So when you first start off, you're going to be like mining Roller Coin, and then you can get a miner for to earn it passively. So you don't have to play games to earn the money. The first beginning part, you have to play games to get parahash or terahash, and that terahash generates passive income, whether it's Roller Coin, the coin for the game, which allows you to buy miners, which earns you more passive income. And the higher tiers you get, the more different coins you can get. And when you first start off, it's a little difficult with all the implementations, but after a while, like I'm earning maybe like 0.02 XRP every 10 minutes. Or I think every day. Every day is 0.02, but 0.000169 XRP passively every 10 minutes. And all I have to do is go in, click one button. But since I have so many miners, it just mines consistently. And if I wanted to mine for 4 days, I click the electric button and it allows me to not have to enter into the application for 4 days, which is, it's passive. How much longer do you think they're going to be able to hold Bitcoin from being able to rally? So I like to base it around MicroStrategy. If you don't know who MicroStrategy is, it's a major company where his whole thing is just to buy more Bitcoin. Whether it's up or down, he says buy more Bitcoin. A bunch of his dollar cost averaging is in this area around 71 to 73,000. So if Bitcoin for some reason were to pull back all the way down here to 73,000, that is more or less where the previous bottoming was at, which is also where MicroStrategy's dollar cost average is at, which means they are more than likely going to pick up more Bitcoin if it drops that low. But that would have to be a pretty major retracement. It doesn't look the best with this right here. We are still holding higher lows. So if this can close and get that reversal, that is essentially what we would consider a hammer. And we could expect that to have that continuation up. The CM Guppy is the real resistance at the moment. We need to work our way easily, if not quickly, through that gray area and flip it to green, which would cause it as support and give us a nice movement upwards towards that 200 EMA. RSI is oversold. We'd more than likely see a push up to the 50, push down, for the consolidation. So that would be pushing this coin up, consolidate a little bit higher low, and then easing our way over the 200 EMA. If that does not happen, we would expect that potential retracement to 80 or even lower, which would be detrimental for the market. But I'm not sweating it right now, even with its pullback. Typically, the time right before it's about to take off is when I really start to get anxiety and sweat. And so when I start panicking, we know we're getting to the bottom from this major manipulation. But you have to keep in mind, this isn't a bad thing. The market manipulation is a bad thing, obviously, because we are going to create new all-time highs, and then it got manipulated and pushed it all the way down here. But this just means that there's more liquidity, more people entering into Bitcoin, building a base, and easier for the next people who are going to be doing trades or having high leverage trades. If you don't know what leverage trading it is, it's like if you have $100, you say $100 10x. And if it goes down a little bit, you lose your money. But if it goes up, it's like you're betting with $1,000 from 100. So you make like 200% increase in profit just from tiny moves up. What's happening here is they're liquidating longs, people who had their long orders, leverage orders, money that they don't have, saying this is going to have a continuation, and it goes down, takes their money orders, all that money that they put in, and then it liquidates the shorts, and then it comes right back up. So the people who are saying, oh, this is going to have a continuation downwards, let's leverage our trade, put in more money than we have, and then it reverses the other way, and it liquidates those people. Then it has the continuation, and then people start buying, putting high future leverage trades on when it's above this point, and then you see the continuation to the upside. All right, I'll probably write in one of the comments. I may do a video, maybe not, and if you comment in there, I'll comment back the address and get it to you, because I have to copy it from, probably use a different account. If it's XRP, I do have that listed, but I'd prefer it to go to a different account than the one that's listed below in the description. So just comment on one of the videos and I will send you that address. And then you can always message me on Patreon. Patreon is the other platform. And it's pretty much, I think it's you and me inside this group now. I don't know if there's anything else. It's been 2 hours. Well, I guess now there's 4 people. It's been 2 hours, 9 minutes. If you guys have any more questions or concerns, let me know. And if you're not a member out of the other 2 people in here, definitely become members. Make my time worthwhile. And I got to figure out how to even make you a member if you're sending me money too, Scott Chapman. Because I think I was looking for members and subscribers in my channel. I see that I can click on it, but to try and find your name, it doesn't let me just type it in. Maybe I need to go to settings, community moderation, user management. Maybe I need to go I'm gonna have to figure out how to do that. I don't know how to add you. Brutal. Earned memberships, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to Google it on how to add members. But I guess I lost the members within a day or so that's not good. But it's all right. They're always appreciated. And yeah, that's understandable. Make sure you cover the debts first. I've never had my credit card bill so high. That's for sure. And Oregon is a very good state. Almost all movies are made in Washington, Oregon, California, and New York. That's what it seems like. But anything else? Oh, I guess, yeah, recovering the CBDCs. There's only 4 of you in here, or maybe 2 or 3 of you. But I had this whole thing written out. It was for CBDCs. All right. So for the 4 of you in here, Spain's getting insane with taxes. Here's some rules you may not know, keeping in mind none of this is financial advice in any way. But say you get a box of chorizo and cheese as a Christmas gift that your boss paid taxes on your gift box of food, on your paycheck, they have to say they gave you $30, for example. Government wants to consider it a donation and charge 10% from the $30 of food that you got as a gift. In the pandemic in Spain, if you left your house to get some sun, you'd get a $300 fine. Food was limited. Maybe you can't get food you need for the next weeks. Like 48,000 people committed suicide within 1 year during the pandemic. And this is just a side note. Remember, like, the bags you could pick up, like dog poop with, that were at Walmart, like free? Now they cost 10 cents around the world. Like every store charges 10 cents for a plastic bag. Anyways, let's continue. Autonomo. Oh, I talked about Autonomo in the cleaning business. The guy who makes like 4,000 and loses 75% in taxes. Let's say your grandma gives you a Christmas gift and she wants to give you $20. And then the government wants $2 from the $20 that your grandma gave you. And then you have to pay 21% tax on any food that you're buying. So it's like if your grandma gave you $1, the government's like, we want 10 cents. Don't forget us. It's like, what? In 2022, year 2022, $14,000 is the minimum wage. Now it's $16,000. 4 years later, it went up by $4,000. If you paid $6,000 in taxes, they maybe return $1,000, but everything's just getting insane here. It's not right. Yeah, I might make a video today. It's already 14:20 here. I still got to do Spanish and clean dishes and wash the house stuff. So I'll probably end this video now. We only got $2 in donation for the wheel, which does not work. So that will be added to the next wheel if we can get more than 2 people watching these videos. And I'll try and make that video for XCN. Maybe not. Maybe I might do it tomorrow because this has been a long 2 hours, 16 minutes. Typical. Yeah, I try and not feed the cats until like noon so then they don't beg. Well, they beg the whole time, but then they sleep after they eat. So try and feed them as late as possible. But thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. And that's probably it for this video. Good luck. Have fun with it. And if you comment on the previous video, I'll dig through which wallet and send you the link for that wallet. But good luck. Hope you feel better. I know the surgery is not fun at all. But I will see you guys later.